From the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, this is the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. We take questions from anyone in the dental profession and discuss what it takes to win not only in dentistry, but in life. Business, leadership, relationships, parenting, health and wellness, money management, nothing is off limits on the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. I'm Jason Tenori, your host, and have over 20 years of experience to pull from. Learn from my mistakes and let me help you collapse time so you can become the best version of yourself. Yo, Dr. Jason here at Dental Lighthouse Podcast. It is Tuesday morning, right? Tuesday morning. And I'm kind of in a fog because last night my wife and I went to watch my 14-year-old son at a lacrosse game. He was asked to move up and play on the JV team, which is super exciting for him. But it means some games that are scheduled a little bit later than we're used to. So this game didn't start until like 8:15. It's a 2-hour game. And then we're 45 minutes away from home. So as you guys know, I tend to go to bed a little early because I wake up at 4:30. So getting home at 11, getting into bed at 11:30 does not bode well for my next day. We've often said that the perfect day starts the night before, and it did not start right for me last night. So that being said, it is what it is. I can't control that. I can only control what I can control. So here we are. We'll grind through the day, and it'll be an amazing day. I think we're through our fifth or sixth session in the servant leadership course. And I love teaching this course because it just reconfirms to me how important the material is and how literally life-changing it is for doctors and team leads that start to fully embrace it. So I wanted to steal a little bit of that information and share it with you guys today. And I wanted to unpack for you guys what we call the winning pyramid or the winning model. And I'll do a really, really brief overview of it. And then I really want to get granular on the trust and vulnerability exercises that I think you guys can use today, depending on where you're at with your team. So at a high level, this is what the winning pyramid looks like. And for those of you guys that are listening to this, we're also going to have this episode on YouTube so you can actually see this. But the winning model basically starts with the peak, which is winning. You guys have heard me talk about in my world, winning is made up of three components. The first part is the data or the numbers, so profitability, collections, new patients, whatever is important to you. The second part of winning is what we call the rallying cry, which has replaced rocks for us as an organization. And the rallying cry is Patrick Lencioni's way of asking, what is the most important thing right now? What does the organization or this particular office or this particular team need to do right now, need to do over the next 3 to 6 months to take the situation from good to great? I just did a podcast on that a few episodes ago, so check that out if you feel so called to do so. And then the final part of winning is what we call our winning statement, where we ask each particular office or team to, within a 2 to 4 sentence paragraph, try to articulate what winning looks like to them on a day-to-day basis. The imagery that we like to use is a team member is walking to their car and they're thinking about the last 7 or 8 hours and what happened in that 7 or 8 hours to suggest that they are having a really good day or that they won the day. And it could be things like, I work with a great team. I have a dentist that does amazing clinical work. I get paid well. We run on time. There's dozens and dozens of subjective things that the team would have to ultimately discuss and articulate and then get into a winning statement. So that's what winning looks like. It's a super abbreviated version of what winning looks like, but it works. So now I want to go, instead of the peak of the pyramid, which is winning, I want to go back down to the bottom of the pyramid or the foundation of the pyramid, which we call trust and vulnerability, right? And this is where 90% of your work should be done. So, a quick brief overview. The pyramid starts with trust and vulnerability. Once you have trust and vulnerability at team meetings, you can have really healthy debate. Once you have really healthy debate, the team can ultimately commit to a solution for a particular issue. Once the team fully commits to a solution for a particular issue, now we can develop peer-to-peer accountability amongst the team to make sure that everyone that committed to a solution is held accountable to following through with it. That overview took 30 seconds, but we spent hours on this particular model. So again, the most important part is the foundation is trust and vulnerability. So how do you develop trust and vulnerability amongst your team? And in asking yourself if this is even important to you, how are your team meetings? If your meetings are crickets, if you're the only one that's speaking, if you feel like you're disseminating information to your team instead of a team that's actively engaged in discussing real issues and coming up with real solutions, then I would argue you have a trust and vulnerability issue. Couple things to think about before we go into the weeds on different ways to develop trust and vulnerability. The first one is you have to make sure you have a team size that's ideal. Um, if you're going to run a team meeting and you want it to be a really good meeting filled with healthy debate, you bring up an issue and you get everyone at the table contributing their opinion to the solution of the issue, then the ideal team size is in between 6 and 10 people. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, well, my office is 15 people, that's great. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. Um, and you can have monthly team meetings where you basically disseminate information down to them or you cascade information down to them. But if you're really trying to get granular and solve issues, then you need to break those 15 people up into two different teams. And in this particular situation, maybe it's a front desk team and a back office team or something along those lines. But the ideal size to have really productive meetings with healthy debate and people sharing their opinions, feeling vulnerable enough to contribute, is in between 6 and 10 people. Okay, so we know that. Let's rewind the tape. So what do we know? We know that we want to win. We know that winning is at the top of this pyramid. We know that it starts with trust and vulnerability. And we know that in an effort to have trust and vulnerability, the first thing you need to have is ideal team size, 6 to 10 people. And the second most important thing is having trust and vulnerability. So, how do you facilitate, how do you develop trust and vulnerability amongst a team? Well, there's three particular exercises that I love to coach and teach on. These three exercises work every single time, but you have to be a great discerner in terms of which exercise do you use. Um, and for ease of comparison, we'll start with low risk all the way to high risk. The low risk trust and vulnerability exercise is if your team is not very acclimated with each other. Let's say they're a newer team, or let's say the concepts of core values and vision and purpose um, are new to the team. So the first one is the personal histories exercise. And the personal histories exercise takes about 30 to 45 minutes if your team size is in the 6 to 10. And you basically answer four questions. The first question is, where are you from? The second question is, um, what, how many brothers and sisters do you have, and where do you fall on that list? The third question is, what type of training or degree do you have? College degree, BOCES degree in assisting. I went to hygiene school, what have you. And then the fourth and most important question is, what is one struggle that you had growing up? So the leader always goes first for all three of these exercises. The leader has to set the tone. The leader has to be vulnerable first and foremost. And based on how well the leader does, the next person will follow suit, and then the next person, and the next person. So in this particular situation, if it were me, I would say, kind of make a game out of it. I'd say, hi, my name's Jason. I'm from upstate New York. I'm from Utica, New York. I am one of four boys. I'm the oldest boy. I went to school in Dayton, Ohio, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So those are the first three questions. Okay, and now the money question. Now it's your chance to really unpack some vulnerability with the team. And you can win this or you can screw it up, right? So let's talk about screwing it up first. So if the question is what is one thing that you really struggled with when you were a young kid, 10, 11, 12 years old, if I were to say, man, I was so popular when I was a young kid, like kids were always coming over my house. They just wanted to hang out with me. My phone was ringing off the hook. I was kept getting invites for sleepovers. I really struggled with managing my social calendar. If that's your struggle, you've just lost. Bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, two outs, and you struck out. So you missed a great opportunity to really be vulnerable with your team. And I know you won't do that. So what I would do if it were me, I would just be open and honest and vulnerable, right? So typically I would say something like, man, when I was like 11, 12 years old, I was grossly overweight. I may have only been 20 pounds overweight, but it felt like 100 pounds because I knew people were pointing at me. I knew people were talking about me behind my back. And it was something that I constantly struggled with to the point where my mom, and again, don't forget this is the 80s, right? So I'm dating myself here. My mom would get a subscription to Life magazine, and I remember one day on the back cover of Life magazine, there was an ad for the this perfect weight loss pill, right? And it was, um, take this pill for a week, and all of your weight will melt away. And I was like, okay, this is what I need. This is the solution to my problems. And it was like 9.99 PO box type of thing. So I scrounged up money, allowances, stuff like that. Again, I'm 10, 11 years old. I don't have any money. I'm searching couch cushions. And this is the story that I'm telling the rest of my team. I figure out a way to get all the money together. No check, no credit card. It's straight cash and coins in a white envelope, sealed it up, mailed it, didn't tell anybody because I was embarrassed. Walked down to the mailbox, put it in, and then I was like, okay, boom, my problems will now be solved. And then I waited and I waited and I waited for this magic pill to get mailed to me, and it never came. And I was just devastated, and actually put on even more weight because I was so depressed about that. Now, eventually turned things around. I surrounded myself with really good people. I started to get healthy. I married way up, blah, blah, blah. But man, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, that was a really hard thing for me to deal with. So that's what being vulnerable is, right? That I'm showing that I'm not Superman. I'm taking off the mask. I'm taking off the bulletproof armor, and I'm letting the rest of my team realize that there's a side to me that's not the boss, that's not the leader, that's not the owner. And when you do things like that, it really sets the stage. So if you can be vulnerable with your team for this first exercise, then the next person that goes, ideally someone that's been there a little bit more tenured, maybe your right hand man, maybe your office manager, what have you, then they go, and then the next person goes, and then the next person goes. This is a really, really good way to start the process of developing trust and vulnerability on the team. I can assure you that if you do this the right way, you'll have some tears at the table, and it will instantly connect you at a deeper level with your team. The second exercise is one where, again, a little bit more risky, but not as risky as the final one. So the second one is, again, starts with the leader. And when you're ready to do this, you sit down at the table, and the leader goes first. And the leader is to describe one behavior that they bring to the table every single day that really helps the team get closer to winning. And then one behavior that, if they were going to be 100% honest and vulnerable with each other, um, takes the team further away from winning. So again, I'm going first. I'm going to describe to my team, this is one thing that I do that really helps us. And then as soon as I get that out, I'm going to say, this is one thing that I do that really hurts us that I need to work on. So an example, I'm going to go first. I'm the leader. I'm going to set the tone. I'm going to say, so one thing that I do that I think really helps us as a team is I have poured into CE and additional clinical training, and I feel that I'm a very good clinician. I feel that I'm a very efficient clinician. Now, obviously, don't say this if it's not true. And I feel that we don't have to refer a lot out because I can do molar endo in one room and I can put an implant in another room and I can do Invisalign in another room, right? And I feel that by giving our patients the ability to have their treatment needs all under one roof at a high level, it takes us that much closer to winning. You would hope that people are starting to nod and be like, yeah, no, I would agree with that. That's one of the things that you really bring to the team. Now, what is a behavior that I exhibit on a regular basis that is pulling us away from winning? That I would need to work on. Again, this is your opportunity. Bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, two outs. This is your opportunity to really set the tone for this vulnerability exercise. So something that I can say and something that I have said is I really struggle with lack of patience um, when things get chaotic. So if I'm running a little bit behind, or an assistant doesn't set up a room correctly, or there's three hygienists waiting for me. We all know that chaos that can ensue in the middle of the day in a busy dental practice. When that occurs, I struggle to maintain patience. I will raise my voice. I will roll my eyes. I will sigh. All of the things when we talk about servant leadership under the category of patience, specific behaviors that we're trying to avoid in an effort to exhibit patience, I will show those. And then I would say to the team, I'm aware of those things, and just this exercise is going to help kind of rekindle my efforts to when I am put in that position. I am really going to try my best to model patience to the team, to model patience to the my patients, and to be the role model that my team needs me to be. But I am not there yet. So again, if you could start that exercise off with something like that, this is one thing that I do that I'm really good at, and this is one thing that I do that I know is preventing us from winning on a regular basis, and I need to be better at. Again, that just sets the tone for a really good exercise. Now, this is a little bit riskier, more risky than the personal histories exercise, and the next person that goes should be someone that you have a little bit of trust and vulnerability with already. Maybe it's an assistant that's been with you for a while. Maybe it's a hygienist. Maybe it's a great core value fit that understands what you're trying to do here. And then they go, and then the next person goes, and the next person goes. Really, really good exercise in an effort to develop a little bit more trust and vulnerability. What happens with this exercise when you get done with it, or even in the middle of it, the team starts to edify you in the moment. They'll say, you know what? You do that sometimes, but it's not nearly as bad as you're describing it. And it just leads to really good conversations. So that's the second exercise. The third exercise, and probably the riskiest exercise, but a great exercise if your team is is congealing a word? I'm not even sure. When I say the word congealing, I think of like fat on like a steak. But anyways, if your team has gotten a little bit tighter over the last year, 2 years, there's not anyone new on the team, then this third exercise is a great one. Same situation, we're sitting down, ideal team size, 6 to 8 people. Leader always goes first. But in this particular exercise, instead of you as the leader, as the person that's going first, telling the team what you do well and what you don't do well, you're going to allow the team to go around the room and tell you what you do well and what you do not do well. So again, this is a much riskier exercise. The team has to feel a level of vulnerability with you already so they can tell the boss, like, what you really do well is X, but what you don't do well is Y. So again, you go first. And when I say you go first, meaning you have the target on your chest first, you're going to start with that person to the right of you. And she's going to say, Jason, one of the things that you really do well is you've been actively working on trying to be more patient with the team. You've it's you mentioned that 6 months ago, and you can tell the team talks about how when something doesn't go right in the moment, you're reacting and responding better than you ever have in the past. Side note, this is a whole philosophy called stimulus gap response. Viktor Frankl's great book, Man's Search for Meaning, talks in depth about that. And we talk in depth about that at the Servant Leadership course, that your whole world is stimulus gap response. You're going to get hit with a stimulus. You can't control that stimulus. And then you get an opportunity to sit in the gap. And how long you sit in the gap and what you choose to do with that stimulus is character development, is leadership development. It's all of that, right? So what this person next to me was basically saying is, Jason, you're still hit with those same stimulus, patient running behind, the hygienist waiting for you, the room's not set up right. Instead of quickly being in the gap and then responding with lack of patience, I am figuring out ways to sit in the gap longer and respond in a way that I'm proud of. So, little side note on stimulus gap response. So she would unpack that and she would say, now she needs to get really like open and honest with the team. And she'll say, okay, Jason, one thing that you're doing that's preventing us from winning, and I'll just be honest with you, one of the things that I struggle with personally is uh, you want to be so present for everyone on the team that you're having a number of one-on-one conversations with team members, and you think it's helping that particular team member, but what it could be doing and what it has done sometimes is it undermines other leaders in the office because decisions are being made and other leaders don't know, or you're dealing with issues with a particular team member and other leaders don't know. So, one of the things that I really wish you would work on is if you are going to go talk to someone, then you summarize that conversation with leadership so they're aware that the conversation had and they're aware that a decision was made on something. So that could be what I'm routinely doing right now that's taking us away from winning. And then again, you just go around the room and everyone is going to be open and trusting and vulnerable enough to hear from everyone else at the table what is one behavior you're exhibiting on a regular basis that is really helping us win, and what is another behavior that you're exhibiting on a regular basis that we really need you to work on. We really need you to consider doing less of. So those are three great exercises. Again, if you're new to this, start with the personal histories exercise. I can assure you through my own organization and the dozens and dozens and dozens of one-on-one clients and people on our group coaching platform, when they utilize this philosophy, it just leads to so much more trust and vulnerability amongst the team, which then ultimately leads to team meetings that are just so good, so different than what they're used to. So I hope this lands well, guys. If you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information is on the website. Feel free to text me, email me. I'd love to unpack any particular questions or concerns that you have. Have a great Tuesday. Love you lots.
Thank you. That wraps up another episode of the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. You have a choice today. Choose to be a lighthouse. Lighthouses are powerful and steadfast. They are beacons of light for others to reference when life gets turbulent. Go out into the world today and become a lighthouse for someone. Give more than you get. True joy comes from serving others. Start today. I'm Jason Tenori, your host. Thank you for listening to the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. For more information, podcast show notes, or links to anything that we have discussed today, please check out our website, thedentallighthouse.com. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to get on the show, please email us at podcast@thedentallighthouse.com.